Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti, and if you don't know, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content here under Infiniti Crafting Co. and the website InfinityCraftingCompany.com. Today is Channel Chat episode 125. Welcome. Today I will be answering a community question that I got from Instagram. And this comment is from Daha Art. By the way, she is an excellent illustrator. We went to school together some years ago, and it's been really amazing to see her artwork develop and whatnot. She's really come a long way in her art journey, so check her profile out. I will leave, of course, this little blurb up here. But she asks, what are some life lessons you've learned in the years you've put into your craft? Oh boy. So, good question, first of all, and thanks for your submission. Ooh, there's a lot, right? There's a lot of things that I feel like I have learned over the years, specifically, not just being a fiber artist, but being an artisan in general, and, deciding to use my craft and my skills as my means of employment. I've learned a lot. Some things I thought I knew going in, and on some surface level I did already know, but especially over the last 5 years, there's been a lot to digest and try to basically, constantly reevaluate in my head and just shift my perspective on some things. So some of these things might sound a little, cliche, kind of generic, but they're very true. And then some things might just sound kind of cynical because such is the fruit of my labor. So one life lesson that I have learned or expanded in the years that I have been doing art and essentially crafts, is that, sometimes you have to be your absolute number one fan for a while. And that was definitely true in the beginning when I first started putting myself out there on Facebook and here on YouTube. I had virtually no support on it. Nobody I knew was into the fiber arts, and then as it pertains to actual artwork, most people are trying to promote themselves, and so, while they might kind of cheer you on from the sidelines, it's not anything really in depth as compared to what I've experienced over the years with other people that I don't know from Adam but have met on the internet. I've definitely got a lot more moral support and encouragement from people that I don't know. But even that took a while, so, and so that kind of bleeds into another subtopic. It's no secret here on the channel that I'm a nice little Christian lady, and so a lot of things I tend to draw back to the Bible and scripture for when I'm, trying to figure out how I want to navigate my business and things like that. So there's this scripture over in Proverbs that tells us about an inheritance gained too quickly. And, I found that in the beginning, I don't know if I was necessarily expecting anything instantaneous, but I was wanting things to be a little quicker paced than what was going on in the beginning. And again, I had to kind of step back from things a little bit and realign my perspective on that, because that scripture goes on to say that an inheritance gained too quickly, it can be gained quickly basically, but it doesn't end well, or it will not be blessed. So that's definitely something that I want personally for my business as I continue to try to run it, is for it to be blessed and prosperous and abundant, and for it to be able to be a source of joy for other people as well as myself. So that being said, I had to really kind of think about things in the true long-term goal at first, and then from time to time I have to uphold that when I do finally refresh myself and cause myself to calm down about it, then I do have to work to uphold that as I continue to navigate things. Another life lesson that I probably expounded upon is to severely limit the friendly and family related interactions as it comes to business, right? So, and I'm going to be speaking in terms of business because essentially I have turned my craft into my business, and my arts were always meant to be some form of business. So, confetti. Um, so I learned pretty early on that, the people that are closest to you aren't, so I've said this before, but they aren't your target audience, but they're also kind of the least likely to be supportive of you when you do endeavor to do certain things. Sometimes it's a thing where they've basically watched you grow up, and they feel like you're inept, or they're jealous, one of the two, but some combination of it. But they basically feel like, who is this person to try to branch out and do something that I haven't, or how could this person possibly succeed, or I think one person was like, I really don't want to. It was a roundabout way that they said it, but it was basically like, oh, I don't really want to, pay you this $12 at the time, because it's contributing kind of to, basically, to my success. So that was kind of weird, but in a sense, it makes sense. So, like, the people that are closest to you and trying to, like, watch you from afar and figure out how you're going to make whatever it is you're doing work, they don't really want to participate in the success of said thing. They just want to kind of lurk and watch and then cheer you on after it takes off, or it appears to be taking off, or it appears to be working, or whatever. So the life lesson from that was just to not let it bother me so much. There's also this thing where, when you are a crafter and you start making a business out of said craft, people always want freebies. Specifically, those close to you always want freebies, and they can be bold about it. And between the audacity and the fact that a lot of people don't really deserve handmade stuff, and I'll expound upon that. A lot of people don't really deserve the handmade stuffs. So it's like, it's a real big no for me. And so what I mean by that, they don't appreciate the handmade. So for people who don't really craft a lot, or maybe they do one craft and not the other, or something along those lines, they just see the thing, they want it, they buy it. They don't actually think about all the hours and intention behind the piece. It's kind of fun sometimes. I was about to say when I was younger, but I guess I was younger. Earlier on in my crochet journey, I sat back and counted some stitches on this commission that I had done for this guy, and it was like 28,000 stitches, right? Think about all the hours of time, and if it was a passion project, which mine wasn't, I got paid for it, but if it's a passion project, you're doing that out of the kindness of your heart. And so, I've had a lot of, well, not a lot of, I've had a few instances where I would give people things, and then, I'd never see them wear it, or I'd never hear them talk about it, or they'd never use it, or something like that, and they'd be like, oh, that old thing, or, or I would find said thing just kind of strewn about, and it's like, okay, I'm never making you anything ever again. So, like, I don't find it worth it to just straight up make people freebies unless it's just something that's been put on my heart to do, because 9 times out of 10 they don't generally appreciate it or understand the value of it. And then with family or friends, they like to offer you exposure for said things, and then they like they'll advertise, quote unquote, and they will lowball you for it. and be like, oh yeah, she can make you one of those for like $20 or something, and then like when they run back to you with said news, it's kind of like, I'm gonna have to turn that down. You know, and it's complicated, but hey. So that's my second thing, just not dealing with family necessarily when it comes to that kind of thing. I can say I am very blessed with how my family was. It's just been a bunch of artsy, creative people down the line on this side. My great grandma was a singer, and my grandmother was a seamstress professionally for until she retired, and she's crafty. So you know, and my mom was kind of crafty when she was around, and of course now here's me, and I kind of doing all the things almost, but I feel like sometimes I'm not doing any of the things. But anyway, so I've been very blessed in the sense that you know, I've been somewhat supported to do my things, especially on my grandma's part. Now my grandma, through thick and thin, has like had my back and supported whatever creative thing that I've pretty much wanted to do. She even, you know, tells me I can paint on the walls down here, which I have yet to do. At least on this side. There's more paint on the floor on the other side than there is on the walls. Over here, there's no paint on the walls over here. But anyway, rabbit hole, digress. So yeah, you know, and I realize that's not everybody's experience where they don't have, like, where they don't really have like those family moral support, Jesus, that maybe others do, and that just kind of lends back to being your own number one fan for a while until things take off. Because like some people do, they have situations where people will not legitimately support them until they see results, and you know that takes a toll on you after a while. I suppose a third thing that I have learned is to continue to remember like why you got started with a thing in the first place. So with me, I got into the arts in general because it was an expression thing. I didn't have a way to like truly express myself when I was younger, and so I felt that if I could create things and be good at it, then that was something worthwhile for me. As time went on and I kind of got talked out of doing the arts or whatever, I do know at that point it was kind of a low point too, because I didn't have that outlet that I'd once had, and then I got back into the arts slowly, and I started to really remember and understand why I like to put my hands to things. It's just, not only is it, I think, a fidget thing though, because I'm kind of fidgety, kind of jittery sometimes, but it's also just the therapeutic feeling that I get from being able to create something with my hands and look at it and be like, hey, I did this thing and it looks great, and I did it basically for myself. Nowadays I mostly do artwork for my own gratification more so. So there's this like abstract series that I do with the painting and whatnots, but then when it comes to doing my more 3D work, like the knitting and crocheting or the pottery, it's not only is it something that I can just kind of throw my whole self into. So like with the pottery, I'm literally always elbow deep in mud, but it feels purposeful. So I'm able to like just create these forms and experiment to my creative heart's content. And then nowadays, now that I have built up this audience, that I can share with you guys, I can share with other people and kind of find others that have common interests, or at least, you know, like to talk about artsy things. And that's kind of the other side of it. Aside from the business part of it, it's the community aspect of being able to relay my ideas and reciprocating and all that. So I don't remember what that third point was. But dang, I don't remember what that third point was. But you know, yeah, just, oh, there it was, remembering why you got into something in the first place. And then with the knitting and crocheting, it was just another branch off of that expressionism thing. And in doing that, again, I'm able to share my ideas with other people and just kind of get feedback and things like that and build community. I'm almost at a loss for words today, and I don't really know why English is hard. I think it boils down to just not being used to talking about certain things. So, here we go. So that's another thing. And then I noticed too, maybe a few months ago, well, was it a few months ago? Or was this late last year? Time is an enigma. But I think it was late last year, and I was like getting fizzled out about things because, sometimes stuff goes way slower or isn't panning out the way that you would expect it to. And that's life. You kind of have to go with the flow on things, and then for me personally, just pray a lot. And it was at that point that I just really sat back and again talked to the Lord about my problems. And I got some really good ideas flowing and some really interesting new perspective going in my head. And then I sit back and I'll listen to different podcasters or or just like random episodes that my algorithm throws my way. You know how that works. And sometimes I glean these really good tidbits, and at that moment I found that I was kind of able to recenter things and have a more positive outlook on stuff. And so I was able to kind of lift myself back up into a place where I felt like I wanted to be creative and continue doing what I do. Um, those and I guess that's another life lesson. It's okay to have low points too. So like, not necessarily that I'm just out here moping and crying all the time, but like it's okay to have those low points and recognize that, hey, something's not working out, and that it's okay to change stuff if it's not working out. um and not just with business stuff, but just in general. So that comes with life, just like kind of learning how to pivot and manage change and things like that to where it's more conducive for oneself. Which is something that I am constantly learning how to do, is just like making room for things that are better suited for my life, as opposed to just doing what I feel like other people want me to do, or what I feel like just has to be done, otherwise the world is going to end in like 12 seconds. I would love to say something philosophical like, I have learned to take one day at a time, take everything one day at a time, or something like that. And I will say that I try to do that. But y'all know me, my brain cells move way faster than anything else in my life. So I tend to think and dream and like imagine up a lot of stuff, and then overwhelm myself. It's nobody's fault but my own. And so sometimes I have to like learn how to come down from that and just literally take my own advice and take things one day at a time. But nonetheless, I think that that is also part of the creating process, because like when you're creating stuff, you literally have to take everything one day at a time. And so it just really instills in you this sense of added patience, because I thought that I was fairly patient at the outset of everything, and then now as I continue to create and make it the forefront and center of what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, it has taught me way more patience than I thought I had room for, which I suppose later on down the line I'll be able to look back and be like, oh, thank you, Lord, that was actually a good thing. But right now, like when you're going through it, it seems quite the opposite. So I don't know, again, it's just like, again, you have to kind of step back and see the forest for the trees sometimes, and like take a look at the broader picture of things. This is kind of a more serious episode. I am never quite this serious on camera. I come to realize that. Something I have actually realized, I don't know if it's a life lesson, but it's something that I've realized, is that, and I've joked about it online before, but when you look back on history and you study the lives of these like famous creatives, whether they're musicians or artists or whatever they are, and you see how actually kind of cynical they were. Like, they create these beautiful, vibrant pieces or dramatic pieces that evoke such emotion, but when you get down to it, they were very cynical and crotchety and angry people. Which is not all that different from Squidward, I've come to realize. But anywho, I think the moral of that, or what I was trying to get down to with that, was that you have to work at not becoming that way. Even though, to build a business or to build a brand for yourself, if you are an artist or a crafter, will kind of put you through it. You see people through a whole new lens, whether it is, again, just dealing with the general public, or whether it is dealing with very special personalities as it comes to your customers and stuff, which thankfully I haven't had a whole heck of a lot of that. But there's also the whims, nowadays there's the whims of social media, and whether or not you can make it work for you or not. Again, just kind of going back to being a number one fan and stepping back sometimes to see the forest from the trees. Not all see the forest for the trees. There we go. You have to do that, because otherwise you will become very bitter over time, and that's no good for you, and it's no good for your brand, or really good for anything. So a lot of times I will, being the workaholic I am, I will force myself to take a little breaky break to just not think about any of it, and regroup and be calm and just come back and give it my all again. Basically, it's a constant cycle of doing that. And is it probably the best way to deal with stuff? I don't really know. Probably not. And I don't really know if I'm articulating it in a way that makes it sound better than what it actually is. But nonetheless, I have learned that, I don't necessarily have to be an outright workaholic all the time either, and that it's okay to take a break. And actually, sometimes taking a break is part of the process, because if you burn out, you're not going to do jack diddly else, and that's no good. Because it makes me think back to when I was a orientation leader and a tour guide and all that. I was doing the work and I liked what I did, but I am by no stretch of the imagination a super social person. And while I appreciated what I could draw out of that work experience for my own personal improvement, I was like a candle wick in oil. So by the time I did actually lose that job, where they let me go when 2020 hit, it took me a couple months to think about it really, and realize that I was quickly burning out on that, and that taking a break from all the extroverted activity was actually a good thing for me. So that just kind of translates over to all of this. So sometimes if I no longer feel like recording, or if I just want to flip my craft table, I will just walk away and I will go paint something, or I will go and make something for myself, or watch anime, which I haven't done in a very long time. But anyway, beside the point, I will go do something else that Infiniti enjoys doing. Maybe I'll go outside and garden or something like that to de-stress and unwind. And sometimes it lasts for about a week or so, or maybe a month, who knows. But I would say that one of those life lessons would be to just don't be afraid to give yourself space. It's kind of like one of those work hard, play hard things. If you work all the time and you never play or you never chill, then like I said, you're going to burn out. But if you play all the time and you never work, you're not going to get anywhere. So I don't know, finding the balance of that constantly and consistently has been a thing that I am still juggling and learning how to do. I'm only 25, so I don't have all the answers to everything, but I think that's part of the fun of life, is kind of figuring it out along the way. What else have I learned? I feel like I have learned a lot, and probably far beyond what I'd be able to articulate today or in the scope of this one video. But I do think that, again, because I do my crafts plural, and I use them for business purposes. I find that it causes me to be kind of at the forefront, be more present with things that are going on, how it might affect business or how it might affect creativity or whatever. I feel like it just causes me to be well-rounded, which is something that I've always wanted to be. I just never wanted to be a either one-trick pony or just have tunnel vision for whatever thing. I wanted to be able to kind of observe the world around me, complete scope. My words are not coming to me today, but I suppose they never do, right? And somewhere along the line I have put down my knitting wheel, I think because I needed to reconnect, but I did finally get the let out, speaking of unwinding. So I started, I did the recording part for this, so now I'm just finishing up the back panel. I'm almost halfway there with that, so I'm excited to get on through this. I absolutely love this color combination a lot more than I thought I would, so that is a plus. It's kind of giving me the feeling of mushrooms, and it's taken everything in me to not find a pattern to make a mushroom hat to wear with this, but I am goofy enough to do it. So anyway, impulse control. I can say I was never very impulsive, but being a crafter, I often get impulses to start new things, which I don't think is all that out of the norm for this community. But I have kind of learned how to reel that in a little bit and not start 100 impossible tasks for myself, because otherwise I'm going to end up like I was in 2021 through 22 with all of my whips. Actually, I think some of those might have gotten started in 2020, so yeah, I don't want to go back. So I'm doing very well with project management. I can't say that I only have one thing going at a time, but I will be very methodical in my processes with that. So anyway, I am also happy to say that I am taking progress pictures and making sure that I can get decent, proper stills out of the recordings so I can put together the PDF for this Fresh Peaks sweater vest. Again, you guys have to let me know, do you want it in December or January? Because it's a toss-up for me in my mind, and eventually I'm just going to end up eeny, meeny, miny, mowing it. But yeah, the video recording is also going along very well for this, and I am currently sitting back and trying to plan out what 2 patterns I'm going to put out under the members program for September. Oh my god, September. And so that's a thing, but nothing to be too dramatic about. I think I put on Twitter that I was going to for sure do the Hold Me Tight shawl. That is my most vibrant shawl pattern, and I am in love with it. I designed it back when that one Fall Out Boy album came out. I think it was 2018. And yeah, it was 2018, because I remember buying the album at 4 in the morning because I had to go out to the sister campus to go to school. So I was on the bus, and I remember putting it on my MP3 player and walking to the bus stop, and I remember listening to one of the first songs, and it just hit me, so I just started vibing with it. So anyway, my inspiration is drawn from many sources, and so I had the perfect yarn that matched that song called Hold Me Tight or Don't. And so I just started crocheting while I was on the bus to keep from falling asleep, and so the shawl was born. Sometimes I almost forget that I sat on the bus and designed crap, just to keep from falling asleep. And then sometimes it wasn't even that successful. I would still fall asleep on the bus, but it's kind of what you get when you have to get up at 4 in the morning and travel across town. But anyway, so that's one. What is that? That is one pattern that I plan on putting out in September, and I have to look through the rest of my patterns to see what doesn't have tutorial on it and what might match up with September. If any of you have been following my patterns, or my pattern releases, and there's a specific pattern you want me to make a video for the members club, you can let me know at any time. I think I think that's about it for that one. Other than I'm just very happy to be building out this members program with all my patterns and whatnot, because for one, it's built directly into my website, so I have more control over what I can and can't do with it, and it also allows me to be able to more directly communicate with my community. Like, you guys can email me. I want to work on building out the forum for that section, so it's not just the comment section. So I'm putting that on my to-do list. But in general, I'll just be able to be more hands-on with you guys if you need assistance with the patterns and stuff like that. But it's also part of the fun of, that was all backwards. Part of the fun of this is being able to sit back and recreate my patterns and do these video tutorials so that they are, so that they make the written patterns more, I don't know, sparkly, whatever. Anyway, so that it's more helpful as it relates back to the written patterns and whatnot. I really enjoy that. Oh my gosh, I need to put out the knee socks that I make on the Centro. So, funny story, I actually figured out how to do that in September of last year, and I just haven't gotten around to doing the tutorial for it. I wrote out the maker notes, but I haven't done the tutorial yet, so stick around, stay tuned for that. That might actually end up being my September, 2nd September pattern. I'm not sure yet, but I definitely don't want to neglect any of my like craft groups there. That's the only thing about working with this yarn for this sweater, is that it sheds a little bit, but it's okay. I can't wait to take the scraps and spin them into more yarn. I did that with the other green one, and I'll show it off another day. It's still on the spindle because I don't think I have quite enough green to, or quite enough yarn to make anything with it yet. So anyway, I'll show that off another day. I started not to do a pot for today because I thought that this video was going to be longer, and it's still probably actually pretty long, so woo, congrats. But I'm still going to do a pot of the day. This is Estelle, and I have no idea what she looks like anymore. So, let's see. Oh. Okay, that's not what I expected from the name. Okay, so this is Estelle. She has a notion dish. Okay, I put stitch markers in this one, and I'm sure you could find other little things. Maybe use it as a pen cup. I don't know. But she came out of the wood firing, and she's cold. It's cold down here, I guess. Anyway, she came out of the wood firing, and I know that, again, because of all the gray flashing on it, the flames got her just a little bit, but I like how it gives it this, not rustic, but maybe eclectic is the word I'm looking for, vibe. But I'm surprised right now because I didn't realize something. Yesterday I talked about how I have this one piece that was completely red and it turned completely pearl white. This piece is completely red, but it clearly was not near the ash or the fire too much. You can see a little bit of the orangeness in here where it's on the bottom. You can see a little orangeness. Not that it got flashed, but just by the nature of being around a bunch of smoke and fire. Like I said, the most evident part of it being in the wood fire is this grayness, but that does go throughout the body of this piece and on the inside too. So if you like simple red things, she is available in the shop. She will be available after this video ends, so if you want to head over there and check her out, I will leave the link in the description box so you can easily find her. I think today's video has gone longer than I probably anticipated it to be. I hope it was informative, or that you enjoyed sitting back with me while I ranted through my different philosophies and such about life and crafting and how they pertain to one another for me. Feel free to submit future questions. I do like these types of things. So whether it's something more heavy or whether it's something that's more light and jovial, I don't mind. So that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes or future tutorials if you are just now finding me. I do crochet and continental knitting tutorials here on this channel. And I do channel chats. I also do tutorials for the Centro Knitting Machine. I am a busy girl. Alright, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Thanks again, and until tomorrow, guys, happy making.